you're late.
You're lucky I made it at all. Traveling gets more dangerous by the day.
We don't have a lot of time. I'm sure they already know you're here. Do you remember everything we talked about?
Of course.
Good. Just stick to the script, don't deviate. The less changes you make, the better chance this has of working. When you arrive, things will be disorienting. You'll need to act fast. Don't think, just do.
Yeah, I just...
Don't think, just do. The boy is already dead. If I recall, you made sure of that. Make sure to write things down. It'll keep you sane. You've got your partner?
Of course.
Good. And remember, you can't catch new Pokémon. The risk to the time stream is too great. Only use the Pokémon you used before.
I know the rules.
We found them.
They're here. We gotta move now.
Move.
We only have one shot at this end. Make it count.
Traveler's Log, 9 a.m., May 13th, 2011. My name is Natural Harmonia Gropius, and in exactly 12 days, I will destroy the world. In an attempt to liberate Pokemon, I will help Team Plasma take over Unova, but instead of the utopia I was deceitfully promised, Team Plasma's reign will cause society to crumble and chaos to be released. A brave young boy will try to stop me, but he will fail, and he'll be the first of millions to die as a result of my actions. But now I have a chance to change things. I was sent to the past, and by assuming the identity of that trainer and following his path to the Pokemon League, I might be able to do what he couldn't: defeat me. I'll never fully absolve myself of my past sins, and I can't save everyone. But maybe, just maybe, I can save the future. I came to the past with nothing but a Zorua named Marty. Like myself, Marty was an orphan, the son of my former Zorark who was killed in the Castelia riots. Marty doesn't know anything other than our bleak world, but if we succeed here in the past, he'll never have to go back to the future. Traveler's Log, 3 p.m., May 13th, 2011. This morning, Marty and I arrived in Accumula Town with our host's friends, Charon and Bianca. They seem to suspect nothing, but I hate lying to them, pretending to be someone I'm not. These two, overbearing as they may be at times, are kind souls. I feel pain when I'm with them, knowing what happens, thinking about the futures they could have had, were it not for me. But the intensity of that pain is nothing compared to the hatred I feel when Charon and I first see Getsis, that monster of a man. He used me. He took advantage of an innocent child's hopes and dreams and warped them into a nightmare. He's a ruler of ash, a king of corpses, and it takes everything in me not to strangle him with my bare hands in the city plaza. But the timeline is fickle and I know the rules. Stick to the script, don't deviate. There's no telling what consequences any rash actions could have. As I watch Getsis leave, my anger wanes, though only for a moment, as I'm forced to face the only person I hate more: myself. I remember this moment so vividly. The first time I met the trainer whose identity I've stolen, I remember feeling so certain about my cause, so sure that I was on the right side of history. How could liberating Pokemon be wrong? If only I had known the consequences of my blind beliefs. Looking at myself now, it hurts to see how brainwashed I truly was. If there was a silver lining to my past self's dogmatic thoughts though, it was this: after every battle I would release my Pokemon. At the time, it felt felt like the humane thing to do. Regardless, those releases now grant me the perfect opportunity to add more Pokemon to my current roster. See, I can't risk catching random Pokemon in the past. It's too risky. The Butterfree effect could cause massive ripples that might alter the entire timeline. But using the same Pokemon that I had already used, much safer. So, after Marty strikes him down in combat, Coop the Purloin joins the team, and for the first time in a long time, I allow myself to feel hope. Traveler's Log, 9 p.m., May 14th, 2011. It's been a whirlwind of a day. In order to keep the timeline on track, I need to follow my surrogate trainer's journey of challenging the Unovan gym leaders. The first is Cress in Striaton Town. He and his brothers look familiar, though to the best of my recollection, I've never met them before. They weren't there with the rest of the gym leaders at the final showdown in my future, so where have I seen them? Anyways, our fight is unremarkable. Marty spams pursuits until Cress's 2 Pokemon fall, and the battle is won. En route to Nacrene City, Coop evolves into Liepard, and then I once again come face to face with myself. This time, my Shadow has 3 Pokemon, so Coop will need to do some heavy lifting. Against Pidove, he gets nailed by a critical hit Quick Attack before doing big damage with Thief. Unfortunately, a second Quick Attack crits again, activating our Oranberry, which means that as Pidove goes down, Coop is already at 34 HP. Not ideal, given that the fighting type Timber comes out second. Fortunately, Coop can use Torment to prevent our enemy from spamming Low Kick, his only attacking move, though he opts for a Focus Energy first. So Coop lands a cut before we now get hit by a Low Kick that leaves my friend with just 10 HP. By the skin of his teeth, he's made it out alive, because now Timber has to go for Bide, meaning that with one more cut and a Thief so that there's no chance of missing, Timber falls before getting off another attack. Timpull is all that remains, but Marty is free to come in and take the KO with a single feint attack. So once again, I've defeated myself, meaning that I can get 3 more teammates. Kyle the Pidove, Joe the Timpull, and Phil the Timber, the latter of whom will surely be very valuable against the second gym leader Lenora and her normal types. First thing tomorrow, our fight begins. Traveler's Log, 10 a.m., May 15th, 2011. Well, Lenora proved to be a powerful adversary, though I suppose I should have known. In my future, she was a leader of the Team Plasma Resistance. Her tenacity was matched only by her brilliant mind. Without her, Nacrene City would have been a wasteland just days after Team Plasma took power. She did everything she could up until her last dying breath. Even with our new fighting type threatening super effective damage, Lenora's Pokemon hit extremely hard. My lead is Kyle, who manages to eat the Intimidate and barely survive a massive takedown from Lenora's Herdier. We also get off an Air Cutter for a bit of damage before switching out to Coop on another massive takedown. With the recoil damage, I assumed that Coop could take the KO with a Rock Smash, but sadly, he comes up short, and with a Retaliate, Herdier takes the KO. I try to remind myself that losing my teammates here doesn't matter. All of them will die anyways if we don't succeed in our mission, so logic says that there's no point in mourning. But that doesn't stop the tears. It doesn't stop my heart from aching as I watch Coop's body fall to the ground. When I was a boy, I used to be able to speak to Pokemon, to understand what they said. But ever since Team Plasma took power, there was only ever one Pokemon that I could fully understand. Who knows why I lost that ability? Maybe it was the trauma of my future, or maybe it was just that there was so few Pokemon left that I fell out of practice. I don't know. I've never really lamented the loss. I mean, in a way, it made things easier. In this moment, though, I couldn't help but wonder what Coop was thinking when he died. Did he know that we were fighting to save the world? I just wish I could have told him. Phil comes in to take Coop's place, and because Lenora heals with a super potion, we can get a one-shot on Herdier with a wake-up slap without taking any more damage. That just leaves Watchog, who still threatens with a terrifying potential retaliate, but since she just opts for Hypnosis, which misses, Phil is free to hit another super effective wake-up slap. On the following turn, Watchog now goes for a retaliate, which crits, but does not kill Phil, meaning that we can smack Watchog into next week and win us the second gym badge. Victory is great, but I cannot and will not forget the price we paid. I hope you find peace, Coop. Someday we'll meet again. Traveler's Log, 9 a.m., May 18th, 2011. Yesterday, I arrived in Castelia City, though I didn't stay long. I was there to get the 3rd gym badge and nothing more. Fortunately, most of Berg's bug types proved to be trivial to Kyle's air cutters. The only wrinkle was Dwebble, who got handled by Phil before Kyle came back in to deal with Berg's Ace Leavanny. I was happy to spend as little time in Castelia City as possible. Too many bad memories there. What awaits me next is another confrontation with my younger self. I have this sinking feeling in my chest. I'm terrified of what will happen, but it's the path I must follow if I want to reverse all the damage I've done. Traveler's Log, 3 p.m., May 18th, 2011. I write this entry sitting in the Nimbasa City Pokémon Center, waiting for my teammate to be healed after the most recent battle with my doppelganger. The fight did not go well. Things started off great as Joe one-shot Sandile with a single Bubble Beam. Darumaka 2 fell to a Bubble Beam, meaning that in just 2 turns, we had knocked out half of our foes. Against Scraggy, Joe continued his victorious momentum by critting a 3rd Bubble Beam, but the thing about momentum is that it can take just 1 turn to stop it. And with a single critical hit Brick Break, Scraggy kills Joe from full HP. Kyle gets vengeance on Scraggy with a quick attack, but N still has one last Pokemon, and it's his strongest, Sigilyph. I bring in Marty, disguised as Phil, on a Psybeam, with the hopes that this will trick our foe into spamming ineffective Psychic-type attacks. But on the very next turn, he lands a critical hit Air Cutter, ruining our disguise before we connect with a feint attack. Not wanting to risk a 2nd crit, I switch Marty back into Kyle, though an Air Cutter does so much that now Kyle is the one at risk. Our quick attack brings Sigilyph into the red. He retaliates with a Psybeam, which doesn't crit, but does get the confusion. Since I don't have a safe switch, I've got no choice but to risk Kyle here. If he breaks through with quick attack, he gets the kill, but if he doesn't, he's dead. Simple as that, there's no other play. So, Kyle tries to attack, but he hits himself in confusion, and Sigilyph takes the kill. I still only have one play, and it's to bring Marty back in, again disguised as Phil. Thankfully, we avoid another critical hit from Air Cutter, so one final feint attack takes the KO and wins us the battle. But yet again, our victory comes with a brutal price. 2 more teammates slain, and for what? Theoretically, to save the future, yes, but the more of my teammates that fall, the more hopeless this all feels. What if none of this matters and there's no way to prevent my future? If so, then all I've done is contribute more death to the world. It's a harrowing thought, and one I just can't stomach right now. Tomorrow our journey begins, but for now, I need to sleep. Traveler's Log, 12 p.m., May 19th, 2011. This morning, I brought 4 new teammates onto the team: Henry the Scraggy, Coulter the Sandile, Tim the Darumaka, and Aaron the Sigilyph. With them, we have a full team of 6 for the first time in the run, though it remains to be seen how long that will last. Marty and Phil are apprehensive of their new teammates, and justifiably so. In their eyes, Henry and Aaron killed their friends. And even though I know that they were just following the commands of their hypocritical trainer, there's only so much I can do to quell my Pokemon's unease. Joe and Kyle were beautiful souls. Even if I had only known them for a short time, I could begin to feel the deep love for all Pokemon that I had in my youth. It was that same love that led to my obsession with liberation and what made me so easy to manipulate. So over the last few years, I had pushed it down. But misguided as I might have been, my love for Pokemon was pure, and there is merit to that. Right? I've already lost 3 teammates, and there's no telling how many more will follow. It's true that I've lost the ability to understand Pokemon, and maybe that will never come back, but they can still understand me. They deserve to know what's at stake, and most importantly, they deserve the chance to walk away if that's what they want. Traveler's Log, 2 p.m., May 19th, 2011. Humans do not deserve Pokemon. I certainly don't deserve the 6 that I call teammates. After explaining the deadly stakes of our mission, not a single one of them balked. Not a single one wanted to do anything less than risk their own lives to save a future that to all but one of them hasn't even happened yet. They're willing to sacrifice everything for the chance at a brighter future. Would humans do the same? Traveler's Log, 7 p.m., May 19th, 2011. With new fire in our hearts, the team's next challenge was the fight against Elisa. As a central location in Unova, Nimbasa was the first city to fall. Like most, Elisa didn't make it, so there's a bitter sweetness to see her again, so full of beauty and life. She leads with a Molja, and I lead with Phil, now a Girder who's been pre-poisoned to trigger his Guts ability. The result is that he can shrug off an aerial ace and then get the clean KO with a Rock Gem boosted Rock Throw. Against the second Emolja, I switch to Aaron, unfortunately on a nasty Volt switch, granting Zebstrika a chance to come in completely free. So I then switch to Coulter, who's immune to Volt switch and safe to eat a Flame Charge with the help of his held Eviolite before taking to the tunnels for a dig. It's not enough for a one-shot, but after a few Hyper Potions, Coulter gets the KO, granting an extremely valuable Moxie boost as a result. So as Emolja comes back out, Coulter stays in, shrugs off a Pursuit, and then connects with a massive Rock Tomb. Once again, it's not enough for the KO, but with the speed drop, we're free to finish off our Crow with a Crunch on the following turn. Unequivocal victory feels good, and I think we really needed it. Tomorrow, we embark for Driftvale City, where the 5th gym leader awaits. Traveler's Log, 5 p.m., May 20th, 2011. En route to Driftvale City, both Coulter and Marty managed to evolve, though neither played a role in our fight against Clay, despite him leading with his own Krokorok. Instead of a mirror match, I go with Henry, who after getting hit by a Torment, goes for a Fighting Gem boosted Brick Break to get the clean KO. Palpitoad comes in next, so I switch to Aaron as Clay sets up with an Aqua Ring that proves to be completely useless since we can just outspeed and take the kill with a single quad effective Grass Knot. That leaves Excadrill, easily one of the fiercest Pokemon in all of Unova. He and Clay saved so many lives in my future. The day they died was possibly the darkest day we had. On Excadrill's first turn out, I switch to Phil, anticipating a Rock Slide. Then, Clay goes for a terrifying Hone Claws to boost his Mon's already massive attack stat before we nail him with a powerful Low Kick. Fortunately, Excadrill won't go for his strongest attack Bulldoze unless he sees the kill. The result is that he instead goes for Rock Slide, which does cause a flinch, but since the following turn sees a Slash that wouldn't even kill with a crit, Phil is safe to take the KO with a second Low Kick and win us badge number 5. Tonight's the first night that I'm going to bed feeling calm. It's been 2 days since we lost our last teammates, and who knows? Maybe the worst is behind us. I suppose only time will tell. Traveler's Log, 3:30 p.m., May 22nd, 2011. It's been a wild few days. I've had almost no time to rest, much less write an entry to this log. It's all good news though, the team is in phenomenal spirits. After defeating Clay, I had another fight against myself, though this time it was a solo sweep from Phil. I knew he felt terrible for the deaths of Joe and Kyle. It wasn't his fault, obviously, but he did nothing in that fight and I know it's been eating at him ever since. If only he was stronger, was there something he could have done? In reality, the answer's no, short of sacrificing his own life, which was not his call to make. But in a way, knowing he couldn't do anything, it was almost worse, to be forced to watch from the sideline. Revenge will never bring Joe and Kyle back, but hopefully Phil's monstrous sweep is at least a salve to his pain. And with victory over N for the penultimate time comes 4 new teammates. William the Phariseed, Cable the Clink, Gil the Joltik, and Niles the Bulldor. All sure to be invaluable as our journey continues, and in a few cases, immediately as we face off against the 6th gym leader Skyla. Like so many of the gym leaders, she was invaluable in the early days of Team Plasma's reign. Skyla's airdrop saved thousands of starving people in Pokemon, and without her sacrifice crumbling Team Plasma's stronghold, there's no telling how much destruction would have occurred. Despite appearances, it's actually Marty who serves as our lead into Swoobat since he can net a quick KO with a Night Slash. Unpheasant is also bested by just 2 foul plays, though by the time the poultry goes down, our disguise has finally been broken. So that just leaves Swanna, who threatens with Bubble Beams and Air Slashes, but by pivoting through William, I can bring Cable in on a resisted Air Slash, tank a single Bubble Beam, and then use a slow Volt Switch for solid quad effective damage, and to get a safe switch into Aaron. Even with Aqua Ring recovery, a single Psybeam boosted by a Psychic Gem is enough to get the KO and win us badge number 6. Yesterday, I traveled through the night to make our way to Iceris City with several of my Pokemon evolving along the way. This morning, I challenged Bryson, and with our now almost fully evolved team, he was simple. Tim the Darmanitan took out Vanillish with a Fire Punch, Beartic with a Flare Blitz, and Cryogonal with another Fire Punch, so it was all over as quickly as it had started. We have the rest of the day today to relax, which is good because first thing tomorrow morning, we're off to Dragon Spiral Tower. And from there, well, one way or another, it's the beginning of the end of our journey. Traveler's Log, 7 p.m., May 23rd, 2011. It happened. On top of Dragon Spiral Tower, I awakened the legendary Pokemon Reshiram. There was a small, tiny part of me that was hoping that it wouldn't happen. It makes no sense, I know, but I couldn't help it. With Reshiram now activated, we've officially started down the road to ruin. And now, the only way to stop it is to defeat Team Plasma at the Pokemon League. It was always the plan, yes, but now that it's actually happening, now that those events are finally here, I'm terrified. If I fail, I can't. I just can't. The pain and the suffering of so many people and Pokemon alike, I won't let that happen again. Traveler's Log, 9 p.m., May 24th, 2011. This morning, I collected the 8th and final gym badge from Iris in Opelucid City. Her Pokemon, powerful warriors that they may be, were no match for my team. Marty, disguised as Cable, landed the one shot on Fracture with a foul play. Phil, now the fully powerful Conkeldurr, was able to go toe-to-toe with Druddigon. And lastly, William the Ferrothorn comfortably walled Haxorus, taking the KO with a combination of passive damage from Iron Barbs and just a few Metal Claws. With all the gym badges collected, there was nothing left to do but face off against the Elite Four and end our journey. Tomorrow's the day that it all goes down. May 25th, a day that I've thought about for years. The day the world changed. The day I realized that I was used and abused. The day that I vowed to do everything in my power to stop. It's not often in life that you get a second chance, an opportunity to personally right your wrongs. Why do I get this chance? Of all the people they could have sent back in time, why did Celebi choose me? If it were my choice, it wouldn't have been me. Not because I didn't want to, but because I don't deserve it. I don't deserve a second chance. Not after what I did, and yet here I am, one restless sleep away from changing history. Tomorrow I have the chance to save so many lives. So why do I feel so awful? Maybe it's because no matter what happens tomorrow, I'm already a killer. I've already made the decisions I made. To me, tomorrow already happened. I already defeated Alder. I already defeated the trainer whose life I've taken. He already died. Twice. And even if I save the future, I'm still me. I'm still the one that helped Team Plasma take over the world. That will never change. And if I can make those decisions once before, can I make them again? There's something fundamentally broken inside of me. Something evil. I mean, I can say that Getsis took advantage of me, but didn't I always know that liberating Pokemon would cause so much pain? I mean, how couldn't I? If that's the kind of person I am, how can I really, truly deserve a second chance? Traveler's Log, 12:30 p.m., May 25th, 2011. In mere minutes, I'll face off against N for the last time. I sit here in my childhood room just trying to collect myself before what is surely the most important moment of my life. I'll start with recapping the events of this morning. At the break of dawn, I began the Elite Four Challenge, the final test to determine if I was worthy of being Unova's hero, or rather, pretending to be Unova's hero. Caitlyn was first, and her psychic types were no match for Coulter the Crocodile, my go-to powerhouse and a hell of a fighter. With a single crunch, he one-shots Reuniclus, and with the help of attack boost via Moxie, Sigilif, Musharna, and Gothitelle all fall one after another. The same fate awaits Chantel's ghost types, though some damage from Gil the Galvantula is needed to ensure that Coulter can get the first kill against Cofagrigus. After that, though, the dominoes fall, and two members of the Elite Four are down and out. Marshall's fighting types are decidedly less easy to sweep, but his lead throw is still one-shot by Aaron's Psychic Gem boosted Psychic. Sock comes in second, so I switch to Phil on the Stone Edge. Karate Chop on the next turn triggers our held Rocky Helmet, conveniently breaking Sturdy, and letting Phil take the KO with a nasty Hammer Arm. So second is Marshall's Conkeldurr, but Aaron is free to come back in on a quad-resisted Hammer Arm, and then get the clean KO with a critical hit Psychic. So all that's left is Mienshao, who simply gets outsped and one-shot by one final Psychic. Which means that the fourth and final member of the Elite Four is Grimsley, but he's not all that threatening either. Scrafty gets taken out by a Hammer Arm from Phil, Niles uses a Rock Gem boosted Rock Slide to bury Liepard, William takes care of Crocodile with a Power Whip, and finally Phil comes back in to nail Bisharp with a massive low kick. The Elite Four as a whole was a walk in the park. A piece of cake. But that didn't make me feel any better as I watched my castle rise from the ground. I remember how I felt on that day. Invincible. Unstoppable. Yes, I did all this for Pokemon Liberation, but it also felt good to have this power. To have Team Plasma prop me up like royalty. They fueled my ego, and I let them do it. Again, I ask, how ignorant could I really have been? Regardless, it's time to end this. If this is the final log, it probably means that I'm about to walk to my death. I don't even know if anyone is reading these, but if you are, thank you for following my story. These logs have kept me sane throughout this crazy journey. Hopefully, you're reading them from the comfort and safety of a bright and sunny future. But if not, just know that I tried my best, and I'm so sorry for everything I've done. Traveler's Log, 12 p.m., May 25th, 2012. It's now been a year since the events at the Pokemon League. By writing this, you know I'm alive, but well, I suppose I owe you an end to my story. At some point over the last year, I had a realization. I might be the only person in the history of mankind to have a conversation with myself. It's bizarre. It's like hearing your own voice on video, but amplified 1,000-fold. You recognize your movements, your mannerisms, the way your face moves when you talk. You notice your vocal tics, how you hold your body. It's all familiar, but at the same time, it's completely foreign. Is this really how I speak? Is this really how I look? Is this really the way others see me? How can this person in front of me be me if I myself am me? That's how I felt when I fought N in Accumula Town, Nakreen City, Nimbasa City, and Chargestone Cave. But as I looked at myself on that final day, basking in the light of blind devotion, I was stunned by how unrecognizable I was. This man? No, this boy was no more familiar to me than any other naive child from this sterile, sheltered past. This version of me was from a lifetime ago. Time had turned me into an entirely different person. This boy wasn't me, and I wasn't him. I was better, stronger, smarter. So perhaps it isn't surprising that with the full weight of my team, we destroy him, beat him to a pulp. His powerful Reshiram buried by an earthquake from Coulter. Vanillux melted by a fire punch from Tim. Caracosta slammed by a power whip from William. Zorark disguised as Kling Klang thwarted by a signal beam from Gil. Archeops clipped by a volt switch also from Gil. And finally Kling Klang eviscerated by a flare blitz from Tim. In but a few minutes, my mission was complete. I had done what others couldn't. I had defeated the king of Team Plasma. I had saved my future. I had prevented the end of the world. Right? In hindsight, I should have known it wouldn't be that easy. For all the worry of disrupting the timeline, it's funny how hard it fights to stay course. Because as it turns out, Team Plasma always had a plan B, one that in my timeline, they never had to use. But here, defeating my past self wasn't enough. I also had to beat Getsis. And for the first time, I was flying blind. This was officially an altered timeline. There was no roadmap, I had no inside track. I was completely alone. And if I wanted to truly save the world, I'd have to do it the way that it's been done for all of human history, by being the best Pokemon trainer left standing. Getsis leads with Kofagrigus, and I lead with Coulter. The sarcophagus is scary, but the real threat, the true monster, lies waiting behind him, Hydreigon. It was control over Reshiram that helped Team Plasma rise to power, but it was Hydreigon who made sure they kept it. He was a brute. He slaughtered hundreds in the name of Team Plasma. He was Getsis' executioner, and whenever the Lord of Ash had a particularly personal request, it was always Hydreigon who would pull the trigger. So many friends were lost to the might of this bloodthirsty beast, and making it out of this fight alive would entirely depend on properly preparing for his arrival. After a crunch on Kofagrigus, I switch Coulter into Aaron. He takes a massive chunk of damage from a Shadow Ball, but on the following turn, we can set up a light screen to survive a second one and give my team some coverage from special attacks. Unfortunately, I squander a few turns with some needless switches, panicking to make sure that whoever takes the kill on Kofagrigus does not fade out Hydreigon before we're ready. I do use this opportunity to set up Stealth Rock with Niles in order to ensure some kills later in the battle, but eventually it's Tim who takes the KO on Kofagrigus Bufagrigus with a Fire Punch, though by the time Ghetsis' first monster falls, our light screen has worn off. As Bouffalant comes in second, I decide my best answer is William. With Recoil, Iron Barbs, and Rocky Helmet, we do a sizable chunk of passive chip, and after a few more turns, we can bring Bouffalant into the red. But I don't want to take the kill because William would bring Hydreigon in with a quad-effective Fire Blast. My best bet is to deal with the rest of Ghetsis' team first, and then make some hard sacrifices against the beast. So I switch to Tim, unsure if he'll live or die, but knowing that the recoil damage will do enough to take out Bouffalant regardless. Tim's health bar plummets, but stops at just 3 HP. He lives and Bouffalant falls, baiting in Seismitoad third. Unfortunately, it's here where the death toll begins. Tim baits a random move, so there's nothing left to do but fire off some damage with a superpower and let him go down. But Seismitoad misses a Muddy Water, and in that miss, I see an opportunity. A chance to conserve Tim so that he can fire off one more ultra-powerful attack later in the fight. Sadly, this means bringing in William and letting him go down. But William knows it's what's best. He knows that his life will save not just the lives of some of his teammates, but countless future lives as well. Which is why, as he falls to an earthquake, he looks entirely at peace with a smile on his face. Erin comes in to avenge her teammate with a Flying Gem boosted Air Slash, baiting in Bisharp fourth. And then, with a knowing wink, she sets up a light screen. One last turn of support for her teammates as she too falls. Tim takes the field next, and with a Fire Punch, he gets the clean KO on Bisharp. But with that, I can no longer delay the inevitable. My heart sinks into my stomach as Hydreigon comes out fifth. Unfortunately, Tim is simply not fast enough to outspeed him, so with a Surf, our third teammate gets washed away. I bring in Gil, who with light screen support can survive a Fire Blast to hit Hydreigon with an Electro Web. This finally gives us the speed advantage, though even with the chip damage, our Signal Beam won't be enough to get the KO. So instead, I need to switch to Coulter on another Fire Blast. But he can't kill Hydreigon either, meaning that bringing him in here is signing his death warrant. I hate this. The callous loss of life, it sickens me to use my friends as tools. Though, I suppose that's an unfair assessment, isn't it? They all know what we're fighting for, they all know what's at stake, and each time they take the battlefield, they fight with a purpose. I used to think that humans used Pokémon, that the relationships between trainers and Pokémon were inherently vile. But is that not a total erasure of a Pokemon's agency? I more than anyone should know that these creatures think and feel and know and love. And though it makes it all the sadder when they fall in battle, it means that they understand what it is to be part of something greater than themselves. And who am I or Team Plasma or anyone else to take that away from them? Are there bad trainers? Yes, but at its core, is not the relationship of trainer and Pokemon that of mutual appreciation? As I watch Coulter fall, there's an undeniable sadness. But in my heart, I know that he's happy to make the sacrifice so that others can live. Because with all that damage built up, Gil is now free to finally take the KO on Hydreigon with a Signal Beam. As he goes down, I feel a wave of relief. The killer of so many of my friends across both timelines is finally gone. Though it will mean nothing if we can't defeat Ghetsis' sixth and final Pokemon, Electros. And sadly, it seems we'll need to make one final sacrifice. I feel like crying, but I don't. My tears have already been used up mourning the loss of all my other teammates. All I have left to give Gil is a look of sorrow, of guilt, of pain, and of love. And as Gil looks back, I hear it. His voice calling out to me. For the first time since Team Plasma's reign began, I understand my friend, clear as day, just like I did when I was young. It's okay, he says. And with that, Gil turns. Accepting his fate, he fires off a Signal Beam, ready to be engulfed by Electros' flamethrower. But then Electros gets confused, and against all odds, Arfo hits himself in confusion, meaning that Electros falls into the yellow. So, with one final Signal Beam, we can take the... Electros hits himself in confusion again! Gil lives. She lives to see another day, and that day is oh so bright, because with that, we've defeated Getsis and saved the world. At long last, I can rest, knowing that my future will never come to pass. It is undoubtedly a victory, a day of celebration, absolutely, but it did not come without sacrifice. Coulter, Tim, Aaron, William, Kyle, Joe, Coop, and most of all, the poor boy whose life I stole. I'll never forgive myself for what I did to him. He was the true hero in all of this. He was the one who tried to stop me in the first place. And now I masquerade as him, surrounded by his loved ones. I get the praise and adoration that should be given to him, not me. I suppose that's my ultimate punishment, though, to be forced to live in this alternate timeline with the knowledge and the guilt of what I did. I did bad things, but I also did good, right? I mean, everyone is complex. No one is completely good or completely evil. All one can do is hope that they leave the world having done more good than bad. But in the end, you don't get to do that calculus. You don't get to make your own legacy. That's for others to decide. So, to my fictional readers, the ones that have now heard my story, I have but one question. Am I a hero or a villain?